Welcome to the Stats on Stats Pod. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Shani?
Hi, Shani.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Dealing with the day-to-days of the mom life, and just all good. Everything's good all around.
Right on.
Ooh.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Do you have any cool plans for today?
Probably a good old pool day in Louisiana. It's hot, so we got to do water activities over here.
That sounds
Yeah.
fun. We were just talking about going to New Orleans. How far is that from you?
Like an hour.
Oh.
Not even 45 minutes. So if you guys come to New Orleans, bye kids.
I love it. I love it. All right. So do you know what's about to happen before we jump into the actual reason people come here?
Look, fortunately and unfortunately, I do know.
Yeah.
Okay, because I do watch stats on stats. I'm a fan, so I know what goes on, but no promises that I won't embarrass myself.
That's fine. We've had more people have 0 out of 4 than 4 out of 4, so you Gucci. You're good.
Okay.
You'll get a couple of them. There's no NSYNC though, or Backstreet Boys. All right. So we're about to play That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. The rules are we're going to play 4 covers of songs sung by Guyana. Go follow her at Destination Guyana. So she's going to sing 4 covers of 90s R&B songs. You have...
It's not even the actual songs?
It's the covers. Yeah, it's covers. Copyright purposes or whatever.
Gonna make it a little harder.
Yeah. But it's better than us saying the words like we did in the beginning. So...
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
No shade.
No shade, just a tent. But yeah, so yeah. So you have until the end of the song to say pause, and
Okay.
you get 2 guesses. Guess either the name of the song or the name of the artist.
Okay,
You ready?
I think so.
All right, Anthony. Song number 1.
Happy days are here, so leave your cares behind.
We have
Just
no clue.
relax your mind.
Pause.
It's so
I have
easy to do it.
I have no idea what the song is, but I'm gonna guess it's called Happy Days.
Girl, we literally gave you the name of the song.
Wait, you did? I was not paying attention.
Okay, so the song, I guess, is called All Night Long. We have no idea who it's by.
That's not even fair if you guys don't know it.
Well, you still would have got 1 point.
I wasn't paying attention.
Fair enough. You'll probably get at least 2
My
out
brain's
of...
always like ping, ping, ping. So
You're good. You'll get at least 2 songs or, well, 1. But yeah, so let's do this. Song number 2.
okay.
At first we started out real cool, taking me places I ain't never been, but now you're getting comfortable
Can you
and
pay-
doing
okay,
those things you do, slowly making me pay.
Destiny's Child. Can you pay my bills? Yes, I can, but I won't.
Fair. Hey. Yeah. All right, we're on a roll now. Song number 3.
Let me tell you about this girl, maybe I shouldn't. I met her in Philly and her name was Brown Sugar. See, we be making love constantly.
This was in
That's why my
Shaniqua's
eyes are
episode.
shade blood burgundy. The way that we kiss is unlike any other way that I be kissing when I'm kissing what I'm missing. Won't you listen? Brown sugar, babe. I get high off your love. I want some of your brown sugar. I want some of your brown sugar,
Okay.
sugar.
I've heard this song before, but not enough to know it. But obviously, it's either Brown Sugar Baby or something.
Got it. You got it. It's Brown Sugar by D'Angelo. All right. See, I knew she would get at least
Yeah,
2.
I know I knew the song, but I just don't know that good.
Yeah. It was actually in Shaniqua's episode, so that was kind of funny.
Was it?
Yeah. All right. Song number 4.
When you walk by every night, talking sweet and looking fine, I get kind of hectic
Pause.
inside. Oh, baby, I'm so...
That's my girl Mariah.
Hey. Yay. See, you got
Everyone
three.
knows that song though, so thank you for hooking up.
Again, we don't pick the songs, so Guyana must have hooked you up. But yeah, we don't pick the songs. So all right,
We're cool. We're friends. You don't even know.
awesome. But again, if y'all aren't following her, Guyana does our cover, so go follow her at Destination Guyana. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. If it's your first time, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordyn, aka J, aka Big Stepper, aka The Chosen One, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Tiffany B. We're excited that you're here for this episode of the Stats on Stats podcast, where we get to talk to leaders, cyber, IT, technology spaces. And today we have somebody here with us. We're excited to hear her tell us who she is, where she's from, what she does currently, and how long she's been in the space. So take it away.
Hey, so my name is Shanee Rodriguez. I work as a it's VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure Engineer. And I live in Covington, Louisiana. I've been in the IT field, like 15 years now almost. And I love it. And I can't see myself really doing anything else, just loving the challenges that brings and how quick it goes and how often it changes, I guess. And that's really the appeal to me. Yeah.
So you started IT when you were 10? That's crazy. What?
Oh, that's so nice. No, I'm older than I look.
I love it. I love it. So what exactly is a VDI engineer?
Okay, so I'm a VDI engineer. VDI stands for Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. And basically that's the system side of virtual engineering as a whole. We do things as far as as little as systems administration, all the way up to architecture of virtual systems. I primarily work as a Citrix engineer more than anything else, but I do have a lot of GitLab, AWS, Azure, and Horizon View under my belt. So it's a mix of a lot of different things. I even have things as much as Trellix, which used to be McAfee, or which is now what we call McAfee. And I have things like SCCM. I mean, as far as any systems goes, I have some basic knowledge or a higher level of knowledge when it comes to systems engineering, but this is just on the virtual side of it instead of a hard, thick client box. This way we can provide multiple people a desktop without using a physical box, and we can maintain only one operating system instead of having to maintain several boxes separately.
It sounds like you get to work with a lot of different technologies. That actually sounds like fun.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously started out as like everybody else, help desk side support. And then, you meet people, you network, and then you have people who take you under your wing and you move to the next and then to the next and to the next. And I guess this is where I kind of ended up under the umbrella. Slowly, I guess we're going to be moving towards different directions as technology continues to broaden.
Okay, Shanee, now that everybody knows who you are and what it is you do, why don't you tell us about your journey and how it started into IT?
So, just like both of you, I joined the Air Force. Well, I joined the Air Force and you guys are Army, right? I joined the Air Force because I made right choices.
Wait, pause. Hold on. So I tried to join the Air Force. Actually, I took the ASVAB and I went to the Air Force. And at the time I had a tattoo on my finger. And back then they were really strict because I guess everybody wanted to join the Air Force. And so They were like, you should go talk to the Army. So I made the right choice. They made the wrong choice. But continue, Chair Force.
I would agree with that. Probably should have been in the Air Force. Yeah.
All right, continue with your journey to the Chair Force.
Okay, so I joined the Air Force. Basically, prior to that, I went to school, and school really just wasn't for me. I need to do something. I'm not somebody who can sit there and study and everything like that. So I did not do well in school, therefore joining the military. And then went into the military and I scored okay on my ASVAB, but they just needed systems engineers, I guess. So they had put me under systems engineers. I had no computer training, no nothing. I mean, this was just when IT started becoming a thing. It wasn't a thing quite yet. So I went in and I think we did 3 months of school. And I just kind of started picking it up. I started as a systems, I guess my career was 3DO, which is cyber systems. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. But I had a lot of really good mentors who showed me kind of the basics and forced me to learn things even when I didn't want to. And then I started realizing that there were so many different challenges, but also so many different rewards within IT. So I quickly took IT and kind of made it my baby, just the simplest stuff. When I was in the Air Force, we were upgrading from this is really going to age me, but we were upgrading from Windows XP to Windows Vista at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So we went to and there was no virtualization at the time. So we went from every single computer upgrading with a disk, another.
Yeah. I'm like, people are going to, the Gen Z, what is a disc?
Yeah. What is a CD-ROM? Yeah. No, it was wild. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And then I became the person and then I created a system at the base that was, hey, why don't we have the users bring their computers to us, and we'll have a system where they, we're not going out to them unless absolutely necessary. When you have like a commander, they're not going to bring you their computer. But I just kept like, I tend to have like work smarter, not harder mentality. So I kept implementing those types of things even as a young airman. And then quickly I became like the lead in my class of airmen because of just my liking for the job. And I took a lot of pride in that. But so moving on from there, I got a lot of options from leadership after, I guess, my deployment to move to like an Intel unit and becoming the IT person within the Intel unit. From there, I got a lot of really good, I guess, progress reports and things like that. And finally, I was trying to get out of the base that I was in. And if you know where Alamogordo Air Force Base is, everybody's trying to get out of there.
Where's that?
It's New Mexico. It's in White Sands, literally middle of nowhere. Terrible. I do not recommend, but it's where I got started. And so after that, I applied to work at the Pentagon, and I luckily got assigned to the Pentagon quickly after I applied for the job. From there, I only worked there, I believe, 6 or 7 months. And then I was selected to work at the White House Situation Room as a communicator, or what did they call them? Communications assistant. I didn't exactly know what that meant, but I just knew I was going to work at the White House Situation Room. And from there, I met a lot of really great people. And once I got out of the White House Situation Room, I decided to get out of the military instead of stay in, because I had a lot of offers to do well outside instead of continue kind of to stay in the Air Force as like a staff sergeant doing, kind of basic IT, because at the staff sergeant level, you kind of start doing management instead of the engineering stuff. So I wanted to continue my career as an engineer more than a manager. So that was the beginning of my journey. And then once I got out, I still continued to work with the DoD for 3-letter intel agencies. And again, almost when you get out, you have to restart as desktop support. And right. So I started again outside the military as desktop support at a senior level because I had that in my background, and then quickly moved up to VDI thereafter. Once, you get bored, you move forward. So, and that's how I got to where I am today.
That's dope.
Now I guess I would consider myself a senior VDI engineer. And that's since I started doing this, I think it's been about 6 years. So things move quickly.
Hey y'all, real quick, we just want to say, if you're an aspiring cybersecurity professional, a couple tools that you should be familiar with are SIEM Source Solutions. They are the backbone of pretty much every career in cybersecurity. Tiffany and I have actually taken a ton of cybersecurity training. We are very fortunate in that aspect. And so
we're proud to announce that we partnered with Ellington Cyber Academy Kenneth Ellington and his team are going to be able to present you with training to help you not just learn to be a team member using the Simmons Store, but also they help to guide you and mentor you for long-term success even after the courses are over. So
yeah, they teaching you technical, they teaching you soft skills. Like, this is one of the only programs that we've encountered that is going to make you an all-around cybersecurity professional able to make an immediate impact wherever you end up employed.
you may see some of their information. Take some time, check it out if you're interested in learning more about Simmons Store and advancing your career. This is the group that you want to work with.
I actually have a couple questions for you. So the first question is,
Sorry, that took a long time.
no,
Yeah.
you're good. We look at the time. But my first question is, you were stationed at the Pentagon. Do you know Tiffany, like, before? Did you know her? Did y'all meet at the Pentagon? No.
I think so. The Pentagon's a huge place, right? And unless Tiffany was at the smoke pit, I don't know.
You are notorious for smoke breaks. She doesn't smoke, but she'll be, I'm taking a smoke break. Okay. All right. So, and then my next question is, when you worked at the White House, did you meet any famous people?
Yeah, I met someone named Jordyn Short. She's pretty famous. She has her own podcast and stuff. I know she dabbled in acting a bit.
I'm going to throw up. Okay, well, never mind. No,
yes,
but really.
I did. I met Obama. Obviously, I met President Biden. I met Eddie Murphy. I met Hillary Swank. I met Ben Affleck. You meet all sorts of people. Keegan Key, I think. Yeah, I met him during the inauguration or something like that. And I think those are the memorable ones.
Yeah. Did I
Hillary
ever?
Swank was my fave.
Hillary
And
Swank?
Eddie Murphy.
Did you? I have so many questions. We'll talk about it later. But did I ever tell you I met Cameron Diaz and told her to move?
I feel like a long time ago when it happened. Yeah, I feel like you did tell me
Yes,
that.
I told her to move, Anthony. She was standing in
I'm
my
so glad
way.
you're proud of yourself.
I did. Look, she was standing in my way and I said, excuse me, multiple times and she ignored me. And so finally I was like, can you move? And she heard that. And so she moved. Anyway, I am proud of that. So let's get.
Well, it's okay. Did I tell you how I embarrassed myself with Eddie Murphy? Because he was like looking at this, he was looking at the Situation Room and I was like really excited because it's Eddie Murphy, you know? And I'm not really starstruck or anything like that, but I did this weird thing where I went, and then he was like, I was like, oh my gosh, he totally saw me. Cool.
Oh man. Well, maybe he'll see this episode and remember you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
All right, Tiffany, I'm going to let you go because I just took up way too much airtime.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine. I think we were having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shani, what are some of the milestones from your career progression that you're like, these were like some of my favorite moments?
A lot of them were the people that I met, the mentors that I had. One of them was when I was deployed and I had a female boss, and it's like there's not a lot of other females in the military. I think that was one of the biggest things. There's not a lot of other females in the military, but a lot of us, where there's that cliche of like women not getting along with one another in the workplace. Well, I think one of my favorite bosses was a female, and it was because just that cliche didn't really exist because we all kind of had to stick together. And that followed through as well in the IT field, and that still continues to follow through, if that makes sense. A lot of us kind of, instead of, oh, you know, like there's no competition, it's more of a, oh, I got you, you got me. We're not worried about stepping on each other's toes. You need help with this, you need help with that. What do you need? Right? Like we're here for each other, and that's one of the biggest. It may not be a milestone, but it's something that's always stood out to me, and something I really love about this career field because it is so male dominant. We've always had a really good connection as women together in the field. So that's been something, and I noticed that early on in my military career, and it's also been something that's been told to me. I remember, so I guess the milestone would have been when I got out of the military. I was asked by the recruiting office for the reserves if, you know, I wanted to stay in the reserves And I was like, oh, no, I'm done with the military. He's like, well, what if you get a female boss? And I looked at him like he was crazy. And I said, how dare you say that? I said, my best leads have been female. I said, I work great with females. Like, I know it's such a crazy thing to have happen, but that was a very like big moment for me, because then that stuck with me as like, we need to lift each other up. And that's what I've noticed most in this. Another one, I guess, would have been being selected at the White House. You know, that's always like a great point to talk about. I'm not going to elaborate too much on it just because, you know, if you have questions, come ask me later. But that was a big one because, you know, not everybody gets that selected for something like that. And then lastly is getting chosen to work for the company that I currently work at. I work for a company called Stratus TIS. It's a very small company, but it's like a family. And every time I've needed something from them, I mean, they've always been there for me. So I think being chosen by a great company to work for was a huge milestone for me as well.
I love that. I love that. So, okay, I kind of want to like stay in the vein of like womanhood, actually being a woman, especially in this industry. So as a woman, as like just as a woman, as a human, throughout your career, as you're going through kind of like your career ladder, you're going through everything, like, were there any sort of like obstacles that you hit, any sort of challenges?
Yeah, I mean, quite a few as a woman. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Not always being like the first choice for somebody or for the next promotion, and you know, kind of being looked down at, or like, you know, the condescending tones that you get, like those types of things. I've been in a meeting and been like, and someone has asked me, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And I had to be like, because I work here. Why should I have to explain myself, right? Or, hey, do you understand that? And I'm like, yes, thank you. So there's been things like that. It's mostly just having to stand up for yourself, continue to be really confident. I think I don't really struggle with that too much because I just have a very strong personality. But the one that I did not, I guess I was not prepared for, was learning how to, I guess the biggest struggle was like learning how to prioritize my family versus work, and kind of having to re-identify once I started having a family as, you know, now I'm a mom, and who am I now in my career, right? Because before you become a mom, and this is like a lot of this, I mean, this will hit a lot of parents, I feel like, but specifically moms who, you know, work up their way up and their career is very important to them. And then you kind of hit a plateau almost when you decide to start a family, because you have to make a lot of sacrifices.
Before we touch on that, I just want to say, like, I can totally relate to being a woman in a room in a male-dominated industry, like sharing, like a perfect example, right? There have been many times where a manager will say, hey, do you have an idea for this thing? And, you know, you'll share your idea and it'll kind of be like, eh. And then a male will say the exact same thing, like an hour later, oh, that's great. Let's implement that right away. And you're sitting there salty as hell, like,
hey, we worked for the same boss that did that to us, didn't we?
I wasn't going to name no names. But
We're not naming names.
yeah, we're not naming it.
You probably wouldn't watch this.
Oh yeah, nah.
Oh, man.
Nah, yeah, no. We would totally be like, here's an idea. He's like, I'm not really feeling
I
that.
got the, hey, hold on to it. Great idea.
And then a guy would say it and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna implement that today. Oh, that's where we at. I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's talk about how you just mentioned, like, you're a parent. So when we were talking about our precinct, there was something that you mentioned that we kind of wanted to touch on, because I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate. So when you found out, right, that you were going to be a mom, which I feel like I was more excited than you, right? But when you found out that you were going to be a mom, like, and I mean, you're also working, do you mind kind of sharing like what that experience was like for you?
Well, I think it didn't really like hit me so hard as far as what it would do to my career. I mean, there's the initial excitement, right? Of, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a baby, you know. So to me, like, work is in the back everything is like, I'm so excited, right? You just ecstatic that, you know, you're going to have this baby and everything is just going to work out. It's all magic and flowers in the beginning, right? And then you know, you finally, when you let your coworkers know or your boss or whoever, like everybody's excited for you in the workplace, right? Once you hit like the midst of it, like kind of, I would say 5-6 months of being pregnant, it starts hitting you like, oh, I'm not going to be here for a few months. I'm going to have to figure out maternity leave. Is there a plan? Da, 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 da. And at the time, my company did not have maternity leave in place for us. But luckily with my company, who I praise essentially, and will be loyal to this day, to like, and in the future, they were like, well, we will just extend your leave until, you know, we'll give you this many weeks of leave. Like they just hooked it up. You know, it didn't have to be about maternity leave. They were just like, we'll just give you like a extended leave. Because at the time I was the only female working for the company.
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah. And I think there were only like 13 people in the company. Now we've moved on to like 60 something people, but yeah, so they were really like, they're almost like a family to me because they wanted to make sure that I was taken care of.
I love that. I love that I mean, that's rare. That's rare to find a company that's gonna take care of you and ride for you like that. So that's really dope. And I love how hard you're like repping them. You're like, hey, loyalty. Like, I'm sorry I ain't wearing my t-shirt. I got you. Like,
I got a t-shirt. I should have put it on. But I say it because they are like a family to me. And when I told them, you know, they weren't sitting here trying to like figure out who's going to replace me at the time. They just wanted to make sure that I was taken care of. So that's really great. And that's not the case for most women. I will say that it's probably not the case for most women. Now we're getting a little bit closer to the end of my pregnancy. At the time it was COVID, so everything was like unknown. It was crazy. And I actually had my daughter the day that we went into lockdown of COVID.
Oh.
But right. So I'll never forget the day we went into lockdown because it was the day my daughter was born. So that made it a little bit different and complex. I wasn't as worried about this time when I was pregnant, but the second time I was pregnant, it's kind of more like it would have been more of a normal situation. So anyway, more commonly than in the time of COVID, I believe that what would happen is you get to the point and people are like, okay, well, stop working on this project because we need, or start teaching this person, you need to write SOPs and you need to start telling people what it is that you're doing and what are you working on. And like, so you're at the last couple months, you're just like writing up what it is that you're doing, rushing, and trying to teach people who essentially don't really care what it is that you're doing until you're actually gone.
yeah.
Because everybody's already got so much work on their plate. So then they have to have something else added on. But that's kind of like, I guess, the short story of what happens in the 9 months that you're carrying the child or however long. So it's like excitement, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And then let's hurry up and get everything figured out and scramble so that we aren't missing any pieces when you leave.
Yeah,
right?
That's facts. And I know you care about your work quite a bit, right? So it's
Right.
like you nurture it. So I know that's always hard when you have to be like, I'm going to pass my baby off and you're not even going to water it. You're not going to feed it.
It's your first baby, right? Your career is your first baby and all the things that you work on. And in IT, let's be real, we all have our egos. We all have our little things that we're like, this is my piece. This is my thing, right? We don't like to necessarily share as individuals in IT what it is our expertise is or what it is that we're working on. Like, this is our little baby here and don't mess with it, right? I think a lot of people don't admit that, but it is what it is. And so when you hand it off, you're just like, don't mess this up, please.
Yeah, no, you actually touched on something that's kind of funny that I'm constantly thinking about with like IT, technology, cybersecurity is very much so like, ooh, we all collab. But the reality is like, once we take on something, we're like, it's mine. You can't have it.
Exactly. Like we'll take the same base and we'll all work on it, the same base separately. and then we'll collab it and see like, what did you come up with, right?
That-
But it's like that base that you tweaked is now your baby, and then you handing it off, right? Or you just have to stop and forget about it. Everything just seems really rushed in that short, even though you have the 9 months, like you really only got like the last 3 months that you're actually, oh, we gotta let go of this now, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're prepping, you're getting ready, you're trying to pass everything off. What were some of your biggest fears, or was there anything that brought you anxiety when you thought about like being away for your maternity leave?
I think my biggest fear was that I think it didn't hit me as hard that I was so replaceable, right? And like, hey, we got it. But hey, no, and in my mind, no, you don't got it. This is much more, you're acting blasé about this. But in reality, like I made this a big deal to me, but to them, it seemed so simple. I think that was like my biggest anxiety of like going out of it, but then coming back in, I was like, well, what are they going to have for me? What are they even going to need me anymore? How am I going to go back to work when I have so many other things on my mind, right? Like, how am I going to be away from my young baby and focus on work? So there's 1,000 different like invasive thoughts after baby, but before it's more like, how could I be so replaceable, and then how are they going to fit me back into the workplace?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I never even thought about that, but I feel like that would put like imposter syndrome on like 10,000, you know what I mean? Because we already, I think a lot of us inherently are just like, I don't know enough. Like, do I belong here? You know what I mean? So then when you're like gone for an extended period of time and it seems like everything is running fine without you, and then coming back into the mix, it's kind of like, they've proven to me that I have no value. I can't even imagine that. Not yet anyway, at some point maybe, I don't know, or I'll get another dog. Oh, okay. But anyways, considering,
Dogs.
you know, you kind of described your company feels like family. I would imagine that folks that already had kids had some advice and some insights for you. Like, what was some of the advice that you got?
What's really great is I work with a lot of men's perspectives over women's in my company. There weren't a lot of women. And so I already have friends that kind of have given me their perspective as far as them being women. And you know, it's the women's perspective is a lot more negative because it's on them. But as a man, you know, they don't, I had some really great mentors in my company who basically were like, look, take all the time you need. And, you know, I've gotten things like, you know, the CEO of my company was, he said his biggest regret was that he didn't get enough time to spend with his son because he's so focused on working that, you know, make sure you spend time with your kids and you don't, and you figure out your priorities essentially. Now, being pregnant, I really didn't understand what that meant. And now that I have my kids, I understand a lot more. But when you're pregnant, there's no kid there. So you're just like, okay. And then when you have your kids and you kind of realize what that means. And then I had my supervisor who told me, you know, speaking on the replaceable stuff, that you are in fact replaceable at work, but you will never be replaceable at home. And that always stuck with me because, hey, again, with the prioritizing family and work, I've always prioritized my career. I've always prioritized work. You know, work comes first. And now everything's going to have to start to change. And just him saying that kind of needed to put me in that perspective.
So when you actually return though, right, with all those fears and all those anxieties about, you know, being gone for so long, did you feel like the same person, or did anything feel different when you returned to work?
A lot felt different because again, I had different priorities. My brain was all over the place. After having a kid, there's a lot of the postpartum. You got your hormones all out of whack and everything like that. And what's really funny is when you get back to work, nobody treats you differently except for yourself. Everybody's like, hey, glad to have you back. Here's all the things back. You know, like you are replaceable, but also they're happy to have you back because that's another person that they can rely on essentially. for me, it was like I needed to kind of like ease into things because I wasn't there mentally. While everybody else was already like going, train tracks rolling, I was like, what is happening around me? You know, things change really quickly just in a couple of months. Or on a, it depends where you work, like, or nothing could have changed. So it just depends on the project and who you're working with at the time. But for me, what's going on in my head was, you know, I can't believe like my baby is over here, or like now they have cameras at the daycares and I want to watch my baby at the daycare, or, you know, like you're getting pictures sent from said daycare or your nanny, or, you know, like at the time I was breastfeeding, so I had to be at work and pumping, and but I have a meeting in 10 minutes, but I have to pump at this time, and I work with all men. Look, I'm not somebody who's embarrassed or worried about it. I'm very close with my coworkers. What I did is I put up a sheet and I was like, you're gonna hear a pump going on while I'm at, or like while I'm on the conference call. I know a lot of people don't have that choice, or they're not as comfortable as I am, but you know, like for me, it was like not only was I constantly trying to keep up with work at the time, but it also had another thing in the back of my head that I am a mom now and I need to make sure that everything is going on at home as well, instead of just focusing on work.
All right, y'all. So check this out. If you're interested in getting into cybersecurity, it's constantly changing. So something that's going to be extremely important is understand how the adversaries move.
That's why mastering the MITRE ATT&CK framework is something that's going to be crucial for any cybersecurity expert.
So that is why we are excited to announce that we have a partnership with MAD20. Now, what does that mean?
That means that we are partnering with them, and we're going to be able to give you hands-on learning, training, certification through this partnership.
It's awesome because it is completely focused on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We got a 15% discount. So if you are interested in checking it out, we highly encourage.
If you're looking for a structured way to analyze and counteract attacks at every level, then this is going to give you the language that you are looking for.
You can go ahead and use our discount code to get 15% off training. That code is StatsOnStats15. So go ahead and check that out.
We'll see you next time. Good luck. And like whenever we're in IT, and we talk about this a lot on the show, like you always have to try and keep up with technology, right? So there's studying, there's paying attention to what's going on in the news. And so with you trying to like get back into the groove of where you were at work, and then also trying to manage, you know, being a new mom, did you find that it was difficult for you to kind of like get back into like also being able to study and keep up with the IT world?
So of course, yeah, that was a really difficult thing to do. The biggest thing is kind of give yourself grace, right? You will have days where you're just not gonna be with it. You're gonna say, hey, this is what I gotta focus on. I think what you have to do is prioritize getting back into work, what projects you need to really focus on, who you need to be connecting with, like, is it your supervisor that you need to talk to? I would say go talk to your supervisor first, see what projects he really needs you to be working on, because those little things, like you can learn how to delegate those to somebody else because you've got a lot on your plate. That's okay to say. Though everybody thinks it's frowned upon to say, I think it's almost better to allow people to know that about you. Therefore, you're not dropping the ball and looking bad later on. That was really hard for me to accept too, because, you know, I want to be the go-to. I want to be great at my job. I got this. I don't need anybody's help, but I did at the time. And, you know, I ended up becoming more of a manager when I got back instead of an engineer, because I had to delegate so much work. I couldn't stay late anymore to do outages. I couldn't, you know, if I had to run out and get my kid because she's sick or something, or the nanny didn't show up, or, you know, things like that, other people would have to take on that role. So even after coming back from maternity leave, like I wasn't 100% back the same way that I was. And even though it's not really answering your question, prioritizing is the biggest thing. And do you need to study for the next thing? What is the next thing? I guess talking to the right people would tell you what that next thing may be. What is the next projects coming up? Do you need to be involved in that project? It's okay to say no. Or do you want to be involved in that project? Then prioritize everything else less so you can focus on that project while you're also able to focus on the stuff at home. These are all things I learned. Did I do these things at the time? Maybe not necessarily, but it's a lot of it I learned as I went through it. And as far as the studying goes, if it's necessary for that project that you're really interested in, then do that. But don't overwhelm yourself with, okay, what do I got to do next to keep up, right? Because another piece of advice that I did get was you'll catch up. So not necessarily keep up, but you can catch up too.
Do you know, as she was just saying that, I'm starting to realize like it almost sounds like becoming a mother actually makes you more intentional with your time, which I could actually see how that would be positive in terms of, what you're doing. Because I think like for me, for instance, right, I don't have kids. I have a dog and I have a Tiffany. But for us, we have a little bit more freedom. So we're able to kind of study a whole bunch of different things. But in that, sometimes it puts us in situations where we know a lot, but very little. Right? Versus being really, really intentional with digging into, hey, I have to focus on being good at this one thing. Like, I could definitely see how that would actually help your career. So maybe we should have kids. I don't think so.
And also, as I was listening to her, she's talking about like she had to learn also how to delegate, right? And so earlier she was like, you had this thing and it was your baby and it was tough to be like, okay, let me give this away. But it forces you to be like, I have to have faith, or I have to just believe that the people on my team will be able to take this baby and still run with it. And I'll be able to we'll all be able to be comfortable with what comes out of it. So
perspective.
Right. And you know what I really gained from that too is that I learned that I can also be a mentor, right? Now that I'm at a senior level, having to delegate and having to teach others what I was doing, I mentored other people, right? Because I had to give this away in order to keep my sanity, in order to make our workplace a better place. And people really appreciated that. Now we had, instead of just me working on like 10 different things, building out 10 different images, I had 5 people building out 2 images. And in turn, that creates like a better workplace function, less mistakes are made, overall. And when I left there because I moved, I still today get phone calls being like, hey, we really need you back because when are you coming back to, the DC area? Because they don't have somebody mentoring them now and teaching the juniors the way that I was forced to at the time because of that. And to your point, Jordyn, where you said that you feel like everybody could learn because you can get overwhelmed and you need to learn how to prioritize. I think the problem, and it's not necessarily a problem, but what happened to me was I hit a breaking point much faster than somebody that wouldn't hit it. Like normally I wouldn't have hit that breaking point so fast, but because I had so many external factors, feeling like overstimulated and overworked and just overwhelmed, I hit that breaking point a lot faster, therefore having to figure out how to place my priorities essentially. And because you're not hitting your breaking point, maybe that's why you can do like this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. So it's maybe not necessary for you to prioritize the way that I did, but because I hit that breaking point, I did.
Girl, I hit a breaking point too. You know all about it.
Okay.
But we ain't got to go there. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I think we're kind of already in this space of like, how did being a mom kind of change your career outlook and what you saw for your future?
My career was my first baby, and I identified with that, right? Like that's who I was. Like I am good at my job. I'm a boss bitch. I'm good at my job. Nobody can take that from me. Like I'm going to get like a phone call. I get phone calls every single day about who wants to hire me and like I was so excited when I got out of the military because I was people were offering me 6-figure jobs right out of the bat. And like, you know, I had a lot of people doubting me, and I was like, I'll show you, you know. So my career was my identity for a very long time. And then the biggest thing with that change in becoming a mom was that identity instantly changed. And as far as imposter syndrome goes, it wasn't even imposter syndrome. It was like a new, like I thought I knew who I was. And now I'm relearning myself all over again at the age of 30, right? That was probably the hardest hit I took, because my career isn't my identity anymore. Now I'm a mom, and I can't be the best at my job because I can't be the best mom and also the best VDI engineer. But I prefer to be the best mom that I can be, right? And so at what point do I say my career isn't who I am anymore, and now I am just me and I am a mother, right? And at work, when, you know, you're like an all-star or a go-to person, and then you become a mom, you know, people don't always understand hey, look, I gotta go because my kid is sick. And you feel like other people might look at you like, here we go again. Or, you know, I've gotten, when I would have like conference calls or something, and I have a kid in the back because, you know, I'm trying to get my kids to daycare before, you know, like at a decent time, while I have an early phone call, you know, you get the scoffs in the back. Like, you know, it's kind of defeating in some ways, but you just have to kind of roll with the punches at the time. I feel like a lot of moms, they struggle with the people that don't really understand the pressure that you're put under when you're trying to also work and prioritize your children and your family. So yeah, I guess that was a really good question, Tiffany.
I actually have a quick question. Like, you talked about kind of realizing like your work couldn't be your identity. Did you,
right,
when you finally realized that, did you feel liberated? Like, was there like a sense of like freedom that came along with that?
No, I was depressed. I wish I could have. I think eventually there was. I'll preface with that. Eventually, but in the beginning, I took a really hard hit. It was really, I went through a really bad depression over it, actually. I went through postpartum depression with my daughter. And once I kind of worked through that a little bit more and told myself, hey, it's okay that I'm taking a step back. You know, IT is fast. You run up that ladder faster, and almost, I will say that it's one of the fastest rising ladders. You can go from a small help desk person to a senior engineer within 5 years, right? So to take that step back and say, I need to take a break, that's really hard for someone to do who's constantly climbing the ladder and kind of gets a hit of dopamine from it, right? So for me, climbing that ladder was always like, yes, let me get more, let me get more, let me get more. But then it's like taking that step back was a big hit. Therefore, like almost causing, like, I mean, and causing a kind of like depressive state, but then kind of learning how to be able to live with that and be okay with that. That took some time.
You mentioned the word earlier that I think throughout everything I've listened to you say has been really important, and that's being able to give yourself grace. And I think about us, you've said it here today, like being very few inside of a room where it's a bunch of IT people, right? Whether they're engineers, they're architects, they're techs or whatever. It's very few women that are sitting in that room. And so you work really hard to climb that ladder. You work really hard to be a superstar. You work really hard to hold on to what you do have. And so when you think back of like, yeah, this is who I am and I'm a superstar and I'm great. And then you kind of get into a place where you know, even if it's a medical leave for anything, trying to be able to give yourself that grace to be like, it's okay that I had to step away, and it's not going to change how great I am at what I do. It's not going to change who I am internally and keep me from being great or a superstar. So I think, you know, just being able to hear you talk about like your journey and then how you were able to give yourself grace to kind of get back into it is, yeah, like I applaud you sharing your story today, you know, and what you went through.
Thank you.
I actually did want to ask you a question because on our way here, Tiffany and I were talking about the Sonia, I'm sorry, the Sonia Massey thing, and something that, we kind of discuss about work and those things happening, current events like that, it really actually impacts us, you know what I mean, mentally and emotionally, which in turn really impacts our ability to be super effective at work. It just does, because when something like that happens in our community, we're very we're impacted, and it's oftentimes not something that's even acknowledged or addressed. I wanted to ask you, because I know do you mind me saying that you're Jewish?
Oh, I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay. So I know that you're Jewish, and there's a lot going on, and there has been for many years. And sometimes it's not as acknowledged as a lot of other things in the media. So is that something when certain things happen, do you feel impacted? And if so, how do you kind of navigate that? When you're at work?
Yeah, I'm proud to say that, first of all, I'm Jewish and Israeli. And there's a big part of me that really struggled with the current events that are going on. I mean, my family, when October 7th happened, I was pretty much paralyzed essentially for a good week, because it was such a sad event. And as time has gone on and as the current event continues to go on, I had to, similarly to what I'm talking about now, with motherhood, is pull myself back out of it. And I needed to take myself away from things like social media. Actually needed to stop watching the news and the sadness for a little while. I mean, I set a timer on my Instagram for 15 minutes a day, just so I could get my messages to friends and things like that. And I have a really supportive family, thank goodness, that we all kind of shared our thoughts. I'm very close with my cousins. I have cousins that live in Israel that, kept me updated. And so we're constantly talking. I talk to my cousins every single day. I have great supportive friends like you guys, who, showed support and were there for me, asking me how I was, if I was okay, things like that, and would let me share my thoughts. It's not anything that is an easy task to handle, especially at work when there's so many conflicting views on things. I would never, there's a lot of violence that is wanting to be inflicted on the Jewish people, but it's just, support your Jewish friends, support your friends that are just having a hard time with any of it, because this is not easy. Again, work-wise, I kind of just stay away from it. It's really not necessary to talk to it about work. You should be in the zone. You should be focusing on work, right? Just you can say your little praises, go get your tattoos, go put up your flags, do your things at home, but at work, unless someone says something to you that is wrong or even right, you can have your little side convos, but really just focus on your job and keep that zone, stay in the zone, because if you don't, it could be dangerous, not only for you but your coworkers as well. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know how to navigate those conversations either, especially in IT, I want to say, because we're all kind of we have little awkward moments when it comes to hard situations and emotional situations.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for answering that question, because
thank you for asking the question. Yeah,
of course. All right, so we have to ask one of our core questions before we start to close out. One of our really big core questions. So here is the scenario: you are hanging out at a high school. The year is 2060. By now, the cafeteria is a Fogo de Chao. She's like, "Am I even alive?" The cafeteria is a Fogo de Chao. Some young lady walks up to you and says, "Hey, Mrs. Rodriguez, I want to get into IT. What advice do you give to that kid?"
Oh, I would say make sure that you can adapt, be adaptable, be flexible. That's and great. Talk to the right people. Networking is a huge thing. And I think too, I would say learn communication skills, because the one thing I see lacking in IT is a lot of people just don't know how to talk to their coworkers. They don't know how to, they're amazingly smart. They're brilliant people, but they can't communicate. Therefore, they end up staying in the same place. Whereas you see some people who may not be the greatest at their job, but they're likable, they have a great charisma, and you see those people a lot of times moving a lot faster than those do not. So work on communication skills and continue to network and learn to just be adaptable to the job and to other people as well.
All right, got it. Another of our core questions. Are there any specific routines or practices that help you stay focused and energized?
I am like one of those people that is just all over the place, but I try to keep up with like my self-care, especially being a mom now. Go out for those happy hours, do those things, like socialize with your friends. That works for me because I'm actually an extrovert. I need like those times to connect with people. That gives me a lot like of joy to just like connect with my coworkers, share life stories, things like that, and get close with them. And I love working with them even more thereafter. So that would be that's just that's what I would do as self-care, is just to make sure that I'm going out there and enjoying myself while I do it. But otherwise, I don't have a routine per se because there's no such thing in this house.
She's also a famous photographer, so go follow her on Instagram.
I would not say famous. I'm good, but yeah.
All right, so we have to go ahead and wrap up. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you,
I loved
Shani.
it. But thank you so much. Like, seriously, endless gratitude. We know time is currency, so we hope you feel yours was well spent.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Shani. And to our listeners, to our viewers, thank you so much for being a part of the Stats on Stats episode. You can find our resources on the bottom of the video. And also, Shani, are you okay with us making sure our viewers know how to reach you?
Yes. So you can find me at shanebe.photo on Instagram. Yeah, I think, that'll suffice.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, go get your pictures taken, y'all. Don't trip. She's really good. She's really talented.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Love you guys.